Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of videos regarding some of the fights that are happening this weekend. Let's get into this first one. Nathan Cleverly going up against Krasniqi. This is for the WBO light heavyweight title, which Cleverly will be defending. And it is a home fight for Nathan Cleverly. He should have the home support. To cut a long story short, I believe that Cleverly really needs to do a number on this guy. He needs to make this look... well, he basically needs to not struggle against Krasniqi. Because if he does... then it's not going to really put a lot of confidence into his fans and to him in general. So, let's look at the challenge of Krasniqi. He has 39 victories, 2 losses, around 36% KO ratio. Now Krasniqi does his better work from the outside. He's quite quick, he's quite accurate when he throws his combinations. The problem is he's not technically great. Okay, he has a few flaws. The main flaw he has is that when he throws punches, although they're good offensively, he leaves himself very open to counters. So that's really a bad trait to have as a boxer. He doesn't throw combinations with good technique, in my opinion. He lunges in, he leaves himself open. This is something that Cleverly really needs to exploit. He doesn't also have a lot of volume. He's more of like a pick and choose kind of fighter, where he picks his punches and he tries to make sure that the ones he does go for, he lands and they do count. The problem is he's up against a guy here in Cleverly who's got a very high volume and high work rate, and also a guy who likes to close the gap. And I mentioned before that I would like Cleverly to try and use his range and his height a lot more, but he doesn't. He's just a type of fighter who likes to get up close, likes to have a bit of a war with you. And though sometimes it may work against him, I think if he's able to do that in this fight, I think it really works well for him. I think he cuts out Krasniqi's strengths, and I think he will maybe exploit some of Krasniqi's weaknesses. So, they're my brief thoughts on the fight. I think that Cleverly wins this. I'm going to go by decision, because whereas I would go for a stoppage for Cleverly, he's been out of the ring for a bit, and I think he's looked a bit lacklustre the last couple of times I've seen him. He does shorten his punches up a lot, and by shortening punches I mean he closes the gap, so he can't get he throws a lot of hooks rather than straight punches, which is something that I'm not really a fan of. Yes, there are certain guys who it does look, it's good and entertaining to watch, but in terms of if I was training a guy to be a really powerful puncher, to really be effective with his punching, I'd really be looking for a bit of length and a bit of straight punching, particularly with a guy like Cleverly who has the range to be able to fight like that. But as it is, he's the type of fighter, like I said, he gets close, a lot of hooks. I think that reduces his power quite a lot. I think if you look at the fighters like Brandon Rios, for example, against Alvarado, these guys, like I've mentioned before, these guys can go at it for round after round, and you're wondering how these guys are taking these punches. Now the punches look really powerful, and they do snap the head a bit, but you've got to remember that these guys are not throwing full-length punches. A lot of these punches, when they're thrown right up close, if the body's put into them, then that's okay. But some of them can be arm punches, depending on how the technique plays out, and if these guys are using the right technique to throw hooks and to throw uppercuts. So I believe that there's a lot more danger in guys that use a lot of length and get leverage through the body with their length shots, as opposed to guys who are just throwing, up close hooks. So I'm going to go with Cleverly by decision, but he does have a chance to stop this guy if he's on his game. He mustn't go out cocky. I don't want him to underestimate this guy, because again, this is boxing. But I do feel he really needs to really outclass this guy, and he needs to show the distance between them. If he's going to lure guys like Bernard Hopkins to fight him, and if he really wants to make his name in the light heavyweight scene now as a world champion, he really needs to make mincemeat of these guys who really shouldn't be on, in my opinion, shouldn't be on his level of the world title. Now I know Krasniqi is a mandatory challenger, but watching him fight, I really don't see anything special there. And there are a lot of guys who are in contention for a lot of world titles in a lot of divisions who really, in bygone eras, and if you're looking at things critically, they shouldn't be there. So I don't want to take too much away from Robin Krasniqi, but I really feel that he's a type of opponent that people were expecting Nathan Cleverly to take care of convincingly. We've seen it with Tony Bellew. He hasn't looked convincing in his past few fights, in my opinion, and the same could happen to Nathan Cleverly if he doesn't get a grip of this. I know he's fighting, this is going to be a higher level than Bellew's been fighting, or is it a higher level? I'm not really sure, but he really does need to look convincing. So, enjoy the fight on the weekend. Like I said, I've got a couple more videos coming up. I hope that's given you some food for thought in this fight. Hopefully Nathan Cleverly does a good job. This is Box Bread, and I'm out.